My name is Caroline Mitchell, and I'm 38 years old. 4 years ago, I went through a devastating divorce after 12 years of marriage. My husband Jake had an affair with a coworker, and when I found out, he told me he was in love and wanted out. The divorce was brutal, emotionally, financially, and socially. I was destroyed. My younger sister Monica, who'd been married for 8 years at the time, had opinions about my divorce. Loud, judgmental opinions that she shared freely with me, with our family, and with anyone who would listen. "You should have tried harder," she told me while I was packing up the house I'd shared with Jake. "Marriage takes work. You can't just give up when things get difficult." "He cheated on me," I said, my voice hollow with exhaustion. "He fell in love with someone else. Maybe if he'd been more attentive to his needs, he wouldn't have looked elsewhere. I'm not saying cheating is right, but you have to take some responsibility for pushing him away." Her words felt like knives. I was already drowning in self-blame, already wondering if I could have been a better wife, already questioning every decision I'd made in my marriage. And my own sister was confirming my worst fears, that it was my fault. I didn't defend myself. I was too tired, too broken. I just nodded and continued packing while Monica stood in my living room, dispensing marital wisdom from the safety of her own perfect marriage. 2 years later, Monica's husband did the exact same thing. Left her for another woman. Told her he'd fallen out of love and wanted a divorce. Shattered her world the same way Jake had shattered mine. And she called me, sobbing, asking how I'd survived something so devastating. Asking for the support and empathy she'd refused to give me when I was drowning. I listened to her cry. I let her talk about her pain, her shock, her disbelief that this was happening to her. And when she finally asked, "How did you get through this? How did you survive?" I told her the truth. By learning who actually cared about me. By figuring out who offered real support versus who just offered judgment. And Monica, you weren't in the first category. The silence on the other end of the phone was deafening. She wanted comfort. She got accountability. And while I eventually helped her through her divorce, because I'm not cruel, even when people have been cruel to me, our relationship changed forever. She never spoke to me that way again. Before I tell you how my sister's divorce forced her to confront her own cruelty and how we rebuilt a relationship from the ashes of judgment and karma, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss stories like this. If you've ever been kicked while you were down by someone who later faced the same struggle, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment with where you're watching from, and whether you've ever had someone judge your pain before experiencing it themselves. Your stories of karma and redemption matter to me. Now let me take you back to where my nightmare began. I met Jake when I was 23. He was charming, ambitious, working toward becoming a lawyer. We dated for 3 years before getting married in a ceremony that felt like the beginning of forever. I was 26, convinced I'd found my person, ready to build a life. The first few years were good. We both worked hard. I was in marketing, he was grinding through law school. And then early years at a firm. We supported each other's careers, talked about buying a house, discussed having children someday when the timing was right. But somewhere around year 8, things shifted. Jake became distant. Worked later hours. Was less interested in spending time together. When I'd ask what was wrong, he'd say he was stressed about work, that I was being needy, that I should give him space. I tried. I gave him space. I focused on my own career. I told myself this was just a rough patch, that all marriages have them, that we'd get through it. I didn't know he was having an affair with Sarah, a paralegal at his firm. Didn't know that the late nights at the office were actually nights at her apartment. Didn't know that when he said he needed space, what he meant was he needed room to pursue someone else. I found out by accident. Saw a text notification on his phone while he was in the shower. Just a preview, but enough. "Can't wait to see you tonight, love you." My world tilted. I confronted him when he got out of the shower. He didn't even try to lie convincingly. "Yes, I'm seeing someone. Yes, I love her. No, I don't love you anymore. I haven't for a while. I want a divorce." Just like that. 12 years of marriage, 12 years of partnership, dismissed in 3 sentences. "We can work on this," I said desperately. "We can go to therapy. We can fix this. I don't want to fix it. I want out. I'm in love with Sarah. This isn't about you doing anything wrong. I just don't feel that way about you anymore." Except it felt like I'd done everything wrong. If I'd been better, more attentive, more exciting, more something, he wouldn't have fallen in love with someone else. The divorce took 8 months. Jake and Sarah made no effort to hide their relationship. They'd go to dinners, post photos together, act like they hadn't destroyed my life. I moved out of our house into a small apartment. Went through the motions of dividing assets, splitting up. 12 years of accumulated life. I was barely functional. Went to work, came home, cried, repeat. My friends were supportive. My parents were kind but uncomfortable. They'd loved Jake, didn't know how to navigate this. They wanted me to be okay quickly so they could stop feeling awkward about the whole situation. My sister Monica was different. She was judgmental. It started at family dinner about 3 months after Jake moved out. Monica and her husband Tyler were there, looking couple perfect as always. Someone asked how I was doing. I'm managing, I said. Are you in therapy? Monica asked. Because you really should be. You need to process why your marriage failed so you don't repeat the same patterns. My marriage failed because Jake cheated. Marriages don't fail in a vacuum, Caroline. There's always 2 sides. I'm not excusing cheating, but you have to examine your role in pushing him away. I stared at her. My role? Were you attentive to his needs? Were you making him feel valued? Were you keeping the romance alive? These things matter. My mother tried to change the subject. My father looked uncomfortable. Tyler, Monica's husband, was suddenly very interested in his dinner plate. I left early. Cried in my car in the parking lot. Went home and wondered if Monica was right. If I had pushed Jake away. If I could have prevented this. The next few months, Monica continued her commentary. Every family gathering, every phone call, she'd find ways to suggest I was partially responsible for my divorce. You worked a lot. Maybe Jake felt neglected. You weren't exactly adventurous. Maybe he got bored. You put on some weight during the marriage. I'm not saying that's why, but it probably didn't help. Each comment was a tiny cut. Death by 1,000 judgments. And I was too broken to defend myself, too deep in my own shame spiral to tell her to shut up. When I finally did tell her she was being hurtful, she got defensive. I'm trying to help you learn from this. You can't just play the victim. If you want to have successful relationships in the future, you need to understand what went wrong. What went wrong is that my husband betrayed me. And you need to examine why he felt the need to do that. I'm happily married because I work at it every day. Tyler and I communicate. We make each other a priority. We don't take each other for granted. That's what marriage requires. The implication was clear. I'd failed at marriage because I hadn't worked hard enough. Monica's marriage was successful because she was doing it right. She was better at being a wife than I'd been. I stopped talking to her about my divorce. Stopped sharing my struggles. Started avoiding family gatherings where she'd be present. About a year after my divorce was finalized, I was doing better. Had started therapy, actual therapy, not just Monica's armchair analysis. Was dating someone new. Had rebuilt my life into something functional and sometimes even happy. Monica called occasionally to check in, but our relationship was surface level now. She'd tell me about her life, her perfect marriage, her successful career. I'd listen and say appropriate things but share nothing real. If you're already invested in this story and waiting for the karma to arrive, smash that like button right now. Because what happened to Monica 2 years after my divorce is going to blow your mind. Drop a comment telling me, have you ever watched someone who judged you face the same situation they judged you for? I need to know how that felt for you. 2 years after my divorce, I got a call from Monica at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. She was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. Caroline, I need you. Can you come over? What's wrong? Are you hurt? Tyler left me. He's in love with someone else. He wants a divorce. I stood in my apartment, phone pressed to my ear, processing what she'd just said. Tyler, her perfect husband, her example of marital success, had done exactly what Jake had done to me. I'm coming, I said. I drove to her house, the house she'd bought with Tyler, the house I'd helped them move into, the house that represented everything mine had. Then before it fell apart, found her in the living room surrounded by tissues, mascara running down her face, looking destroyed in a way I recognized intimately. He said he doesn't love me anymore, she sobbed. He's been seeing someone from his gym for 6 months. He wants out. Just like that, after 8 years he's done. I sat next to her. Let her cry. Handed her tissues. Did all the things people had done for me when I was in this exact position. How could he do this to me? She asked. I was a good wife. I did everything right. I made him a priority. I worked at our marriage every single day. I heard the echo of love. Her own words. The ones she'd thrown at me when I was grieving my marriage. The suggestions that I hadn't tried hard enough, hadn't been good enough, had somehow deserved what Jake did. Sometimes people leave anyway, I said quietly. Even when you do everything right, but I don't understand. What did I do wrong? Probably nothing. Sometimes the problem isn't what you did or didn't do. Sometimes the problem is the person who chose to betray you. She cried harder. Everyone's going to judge me. Everyone's going to think I failed, that I couldn't keep my husband happy. Are they? Or are you projecting? She looked at me, confused. You judged me when this happened, I said gently, but firmly. You told me I should have tried harder, that I was partially responsible, that if I'd been a better wife, Jake wouldn't have cheated. Are you saying the same things to yourself now? Her face crumpled. I didn't. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I thought I was helping. You weren't helping. You were kicking me when I was already down. You were confirming every terrible thing I was already telling myself. You made me feel like my divorce was my fault when the only person at fault was Jake. I'm sorry. I know. But Monica, you need to understand something. What you're feeling right now, this shame, this self-blame, this wondering what you did wrong, that's what I felt. And having you tell me it was partially my fault made it so much worse. We sat in silence for a long moment. How did you survive this? She asked finally. How did you get through it? By learning who actually cared about me. By figuring out who offered real support versus who just offered judgment. And I was in the judgment category. Yes. I'm so sorry, Caroline. I was cruel. I was judgmental. I didn't understand what you were going through because I thought I was immune to it. I thought my marriage was better than yours. I thought I was a better wife. And that smugness made me say terrible things to you when you needed support. I know. 9. Can you forgive me? I thought about it. About all the nights I'd cried after her comments. About all the times I'd doubted myself because she'd confirmed my worst fears. About the distance that had grown between us because she'd been so willing to blame me for my own heartbreak. Eventually. But right now, you need to understand what you did. And you need to let yourself feel what you're feeling without making excuses for Tyler, or blaming yourself. He chose to cheat. He chose to leave. That's on him, not you. Monica nodded, tears streaming down her face. Will you help me? Like, actually help me get through this? The way I should have helped you? Yes? Because I'm not you. I don't kick people when they're down, even when they kicked me. Over the next few months, I helped Monica navigate her divorce the way she should have helped me navigate mine. I listened without judgment. I validated her pain. I assured her that Tyler's betrayal didn't reflect her worth or her efforts. I also gently reminded her when appropriate, of things she'd said to me. Not to be cruel, but to help her understand the impact of her words. Remember when you said I should have tried harder? Are you trying hard enough right now? Remember when you said I should examine my role in pushing Jake away? What role did you play in pushing Tyler toward another woman? Remember when you said I put on weight and that probably didn't help? Should we talk about your weight now? Each time she'd flinch. Apologize again. Recognize how hurtful those comments had been. I was awful to you, she said during one of our sister coffee dates. I can't believe I said those things. I can't believe I blamed you for being betrayed. You thought you were immune. You thought your marriage was better than mine. And that arrogance made you cruel. It did. And I'm so sorry. Monica's divorce was similar to mine. Tyler and his gym girlfriend, a personal trainer named Amber, made no effort to hide their relationship. Monica moved out of their house into an apartment. Went through the motions of dividing assets and untangling 8 years of shared life. And I was there. Not because she deserved it after how she'd treated me, but because I understood what she was going through in a way few people could. Because I knew how isolating that pain was. Because I believed in being the person I'd needed when I was in her position. But I also set boundaries. When Monica would start to make excuses for Tyler, maybe I worked too much or maybe I wasn't adventurous enough, I'd stop her. No. We're not doing that. Tyler made a choice to cheat and leave. That's on him. You were a good wife. You don't get to blame yourself for his betrayal just because I let you blame me for mine. When other family members would make subtle judgments, what a shame about Monica and Tyler, they seemed so perfect, I'd shut it down. They seemed perfect because Monica worked hard to present that image. But no relationship is perfect, and sometimes people leave anyway. There's no shame in being divorced when your partner chooses to betray you. Monica noticed the difference. You're defending me, even after how I treated you. Because you deserve defense. Everyone going through this deserves defense, not judgment. I just wish I'd gotten that from you when I needed it. You should have. I was terrible. And I don't know how to make that up to you. Hey. You can't make it up, you can just be different going forward. Okay, before I tell you how Monica's experience changed her and how our relationship evolved, I need to know. Would you have helped your sister after she judged you so harshly? Or would you have let her figure it out alone? Drop yes or no in the comments. And if you're still watching, hit that like button because the resolution is actually beautiful in an unexpected way. Monica and I spent a lot of time together during her divorce. More time than we'd spent together in years. And somewhere in that process, we rebuilt our relationship on a foundation of honesty rather than judgment. I think I judged you. Because I was scared, she admitted one day. If your marriage could fall apart, mine could too. If Jake could cheat on you, Tyler could cheat on me. So I convinced myself your marriage failed because of your mistakes, because that meant mine was safe. That I was doing it right and you'd done it wrong. That's not how it works. I know that now. But I didn't then. And I was cruel to you to protect my own sense of security. That's a pretty profound realization. Therapy's helping. Same therapist you recommended, actually. She's been calling me out on my judgmental tendencies. Apparently I do this with lots of things. I judge people who struggle because it makes me feel safe from whatever they're struggling with. That sounds exhausting. It is. And I'm working on it. Monica's divorce was finalized about a year after Tyler left. By then, she was in a better place. Not healed completely, but functional. She'd started dating someone new. Had rebuilt her life into something independent and stable. And she'd become a completely different sister. No more judgment. No more unsolicited advice. No more subtle implications that people's struggles were their own fault. When our cousin got divorced, Monica was the first to offer support. When our mother made a comment about the cousin giving up too easily, Monica shut it down immediately. Divorce isn't failure. Staying with someone who betrays you would be failure. Sarah made the right choice leaving Tom after he cheated. My mother looked surprised. Monica glanced at me. I learned that from Caroline, who I should have supported better when she was going through the same thing. Our relationship now is better than it was before either of our divorces. Not perfect. We still have history, still have hurt that doesn't completely heal. But honest. Real town. Built on mutual respect rather than judgment. About 2 years after Monica's divorce, she called me on the anniversary of the day Tyler told her he was leaving. I just wanted to say, thank you. For helping me through the worst thing I've ever experienced. For being kind when you had every right to be cruel. For showing me what real support looks like. You're welcome. And I wanted to say I'm sorry. Again. I know I've apologized a lot, but I don't think I'll ever fully be able to make up for how I treated you during your divorce. You don't have to make it up to me. You just have to be different. And you are. I try. Every time I'm tempted to judge someone, I think about how wrong I was about you. About how I blamed you for something that wasn't your fault. And I shut up. That's growth. It's humility. Which I desperately needed. We talked for an hour. About our divorces, our lives after, the relationships we'd built since. About how trauma can either make you bitter or empathetic, judgmental or understanding. I chose bitter the first time, Monica said. When your marriage ended, I chose judgment and superiority. But when mine ended, I had to choose differently. Because I'd seen what judgment looks like from the receiving end. And it's ugly. It is. I'm glad you didn't treat me the way I treated you. I'm glad too. Because as satisfying as revenge might have felt, being supportive felt better. Today, 4 years after my divorce and 2 years after Monica's, we're both in good places. I'm engaged to someone wonderful who makes me feel valued and loved. Monica is in a serious relationship with someone who treats her well. We talk regularly. Support each other's lives. have honest conversations about relationships and trust and what we learned from our divorces. And Monica never, not once, has suggested that anyone's relationship struggles are their own fault. She's learned what I had to learn, that sometimes people betray you not because you weren't enough, but because they're not capable of honoring commitment. That lesson cost us both marriages. But it taught us something more valuable than staying married to people who didn't value us. It taught us empathy. Your pain is not a teaching moment for others to dissect. Your divorce is not an opportunity for people to explain what you did wrong. And when someone judges your struggle before experiencing their own version of it, their eventual understanding doesn't erase the harm, but it can create space for rebuilding. If you made it this far, you understand what it's like to be judged in your darkest moment by someone who later faced the same darkness. Hit that subscribe button for more stories about karma, growth, and relationships rebuilt from judgment. Drop a comment about whether you think Monica deserved Caroline's help after being so cruel, or if karma should have been left to teach the lesson alone. Your perspective matters. Hit like if you believe helping people who hurt you takes more strength than revenge ever could. And share this with someone who needs to hear that being betrayed doesn't make you a failure, and supporting others through their pain, even when they didn't support you, is its own kind of victory. Remember, the people who judge your struggles the harshest are often the ones who haven't faced those struggles yet. And when they finally do, your choice to help them anyway says more about your character than their judgment ever said about yours. Until next time, this is Caroline reminding you that my sister mocked my divorce and told me I should have tried harder. 2 years later, she called me crying when her husband did the same thing to her. I helped her through it, not because she deserved it after how she treated me, but because I'm not the kind of person who lets someone drown in the same waters that almost killed me. And while her judgment will always be part of our history, her growth and genuine remorse became the foundation for something better. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all, it's being better than the person who hurt you. And that's exactly what I chose to be.